agenda item number 1 at the meeting of Lincolnshire County Council. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Dilks. Councillor Callum-Cook.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd just like to make a few comments. And I think firstly, I think the observation would be is that, over the last 10 days, I think that, our teams have really stepped up in terms of delivering London Bridge. And I'll make a formal announcement about that in the announcements. And I think the last 10 days for so many of us was just, and it's hard to find the right word actually to describe actually the feelings and the emotion that we've all seen across the wider districts and London, across a lot of the cities and the Commonwealth. And in terms of the Queen, her decades of service are unlikely to be matched, nor the affection in which she was held by not just this country, but across the Commonwealth and indeed the world, as many of us will have watched the funeral in terms of all of the world leaders and members of the royal families of all the households across the world attending the funeral to show the respect and commitment that she showed for their turning out to the United Kingdom. I think Her Majesty served the role with a faith and fortitude that has seen her through some of the most difficult times, and indeed it's difficult to think back that only a few months ago we were actually celebrating the Platinum Jubilee, and to now be here where we are today. And the Queen was certainly a shining example of devotion to duty as our monarch of our proud nation. And I think the Queen, and I know there's many stories from members across this chamber of occasions when they've met her, but she did visit our district on a number of occasions. And I think one of the most memorable occasions that I was talking to somebody the other day was when she was watching her own daughter, Her Royal Highness the Princess Royal, competing at Burghley Horse Trials, and the Queen was there in a private capacity. So I think that was an incredibly proud moment for her to watch her daughter at the horse trials. But we've got a number of other examples when in 1961, I believe, she went to my old school at Stamford and did a tour round before my time. But I know the photographs and I know the memories of some of the students that were there is still very vivid in their minds. And also in 2012, when during the Jubilee as well, she was driving through Stamford and had a reception at Burghley House as well. So it just shows that she has visited our district on a number of occasions. And I think in terms of the close affiliation with the military, when you look back and you think about the work and commitment that she put in terms of, with the Second World War, she was the Princess Elizabeth then, and she really did help boost the morale of the UK along with her sister Princess Margaret. And I think the Queen has continued to be a role model to so many people. And I think, we all thank her for her service and duty to our country. And I know that we've already expressed our condolences to the Private Secretary to His Majesty the King as a council as well.
Thank you, Councillor Cook. Councillor Mark Whittington.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. I never had the pleasure of meeting Her late Majesty. The closest I got was about 30 yards away to garden party I attended about 5 or 6 years ago. But I think it's probably fair to say that Her Majesty's presence, I think, was felt right across this country by those people who met her and by those people who hadn't. The length of her service to this country and the exemplary way in which she performed all of her duties. Always minded of that, the pledge she made before she succeeded to the crown. She said, no matter how long my life be, whether it be long or short, I pledge to serve my country. And she totally fulfilled that pledge and a lot more besides. And she was, as Councillor Cook has referred to, a member of that indomitable war generation that sort of got this country through its darkest times during the Second World War. I'm very much part of that generation, sadly, all of whom now seem to be departing us. And it's to be remembered that she did actually serve in the ATS during the war as well. For the past, during the official mourning period, I, as Deputy Mayor of Grantham, I spent at least 3 sometimes hours, sometimes longer every day at the Grantham Mayor's Parlour, helping with the stewarding of the official Book of Condolence. And during that sort of 10-12 days we were open, we had so many different people coming in from the Grantham area, of people of all ages, all descriptions coming in, writing in the book. And on occasion, I just went to look to see the sort of comments that were being written. And there was so much love in those comments from the people of Grantham, thanking Her late Majesty for the length of her service, remembering times, some counting for times when they actually did meet her. And it was really quite humbling to actually see the breadth of the comments and the breadth of the love that was in those comments. I doubt we'll probably ever see another monarch perhaps reigning as long as the late Majesty did. But all I can say is, in conclusion, is God rest Her Majesty and God save the King.
Thank you, councillor Whittington. Councillor Ian Selby.
Thank you very much indeed, Madam Chairman. Well, Madam Chairman, there's not enough superlatives in the dictionary to describe Her Majesty the Queen. She's been an absolutely wonderful monarch, no question about that whatsoever. She was a pillar in my life, Madam Chairman. That's how I feel, and I feel now there seems to be a big void there now. I do hope that there will be a bank holiday each year that we can remember Her Majesty the Queen with. Christmas Day this year, Madam Chairman, is going to be so different. I always look forward to Christmas Day and Her Majesty's speech at 3 p.m. was one of the highlights for Christmas for me. So that will seem very strange not having Her Majesty the Queen there to deliver that message for us. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Councillor Ben Green and Councillor Graham Gill. Exceptionally good company, Madam Chairman. We went down to London for the line-in state. So yes, sincere thanks to those two gentlemen. A day we will never forget as long as we live. This has to be said, Madam Chairman, that while we were down there, the organisation of everything was absolutely fabulous. All credit to everybody involved, the police, all the stewards and everything, Madam Chairman, exceptionally good, it really was. And then I think about the funeral as well, Madam Chairman. Wasn't it an immaculate display, from everybody involved? Absolutely immaculate. The British, well, nobody does pomp, ceremony like the British, nobody. Madam Chairman, very proud of Her Majesty the Queen. And I'm proud to have been an Elizabethan. Thank you kindly.
Thank you, councillor Selby. Councillor Susan Sandal.
I'd just like to tell you my experiences with the Queen. In 2012, my husband was Mayor of Stamford and I was Mayoress. They had a picnic in the park at Burley, like Callum had said earlier, and we were invited along with hundreds of other people. The Queen came by helicopter, parked outside Burley House, and then drove towards where everybody was assembled. And the Lord Lieutenant came up to my husband and invited him to ask the Queen if she would sign the visitors book, which was not held in the town hall in Stamford. She would have come directly to the town hall, but Prince Philip was ill at the time and she came alone. So that was why we had to attend at Burley. So I was asked to stand at the side. They were chatting away and signing the register. And then when she'd finished, she turned to me and said, are you from Stamford? And I said, yes. She says, I'm going there shortly. And I said, yes, ma'am. I says, we're hoping to get back into Stamford in time to see you drive through. But of course, we were then at Burley and we wasn't sure. But anyway, she said to me, where will you be? And I said, well, we'll be standing on the town hall balcony. I'll look out for you. And I could not believe that I was chatting with the Queen. She was so warm and welcoming and made you so feel so at ease that it was just like talking to anybody else, not such a very important person. And I was so honoured, and it was something that just lives on with you for the rest of your lives. And I was really so pleased that we could be there to share that with that day. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Charmaine Morgan.
Thank you. First of all, I would just like to pay tribute to all of the officers and councillors who supported our local events to reflect the loss of Her Majesty and to welcome our new King. They were absolutely stalwart. They held themselves with real dignity, and I think they did Grantham proud over the last few weeks. I was also in the mayor's parlour over this time, and one of the things I really picked up, as has been said, was a heartfelt, the emotions that her loss evoked. And there were multi-generations of there were children with their mothers and the grandmothers all coming along to sign the book. But it made me realise, and I'd just like to kind of convey this message, that she was Queen for so long that she's almost embedded in our national identity. And whether you're into the royal family or not, she somehow crossed that bridge. And she brought so much affection, but equally she's also brought back lots of memories of people and people who have lost dear loved ones who perhaps were around in the Jubilee, for example, or celebrated further up the line. So just like to remind people as well that there is help out if you do feel that her loss has evoked memories for you and you're struggling, that there is help out there for you as well. And I'd like to then move forward to our new king, because if there's one thing I thought that really struck me, how many of us who may have lost a parent then had to go through what was a huge, arduous procession of ceremony to have to stand at his mother's tomb with all those cameras blazing on them. And I think that the whole family did so with such dignity. It was huge credit to them, but I actually hope from a personal point of view in future we don't put anybody else through that again, and that they review how they actually carry out these ceremonies in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Paulwood.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yeah, I'd like to pay my tributes to the Queen. She was a great Queen, wasn't she? And we'll all miss her very deeply. I think what she did offer, she gave us stability. The royal family gave us stability. You know, the world's a changing place. There's a lot of difficulties in the world, but there was a stable, influencing figure on us all, and she served us well. I am pleased to see that King Charles III has pledged to continue in the same vein, and I think he will also be a stable and influencing figure. I did meet the Queen once, a long while ago actually. That was when I went to a garden party in, well, it was the year 2000 actually. No, I didn't get too close to her. She didn't give me an award. She didn't make me a knight. And I thought I'd better not ask. But generally, yeah, she will be sadly missed by all of us. But I'm pleased to see King Charles III, I'm confident now will continue in the same mould. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do I have any? Councillor Steptoe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't think there's anything to add, so I would simply like to associate myself and the Labour Party with everything that's been said. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have anybody else wish to? Well, I'd just like to say, as Councillor Morgan says, fantastic how the staff did what they did on our behalf. They did an amazing job. And we took the book of condolence to the care homes in Bourne. And very movingly, the ladies and gentlemen who couldn't remember their family, they remembered the Queen, which is very moving. So thank you all. I would like to ask members of the council to observe a further minute's silence for Councillor Judy Smith, who sadly passed away in August following, a short, well, unexpected passing. So if I could ask you all to stand for a minute's silence, please. Thank you all. I will ask you all to say a few words if you wish about Judy, but I would like to start off, if I can. Judy was a very, very dear friend, not only here at the district, but to Bourne Town Council as well. And Judy kindly took me under her wing and gave me lots of advice and support when I wasn't sure about things. So some of you councillors may now get those phone calls, and officers. We had lots of laughs coming into the meetings. We was always laughing, and when we got out the car, I used to say, now you've got to behave, and she'd say, do I have to? Like the Queen, they do not make them like Judy anymore. She worked tirelessly for her residents, both as a town and district councillor. And Judy was Mayor of Bourne, and for us here, Chairman. Judy had so many interests. She was a stalwart of Bourne Abbey Church, where she attended every Sunday until recently. She raised money for the church hall, the Butterfield Centre, where she was a chairman for a number of years. She was on the Twinning Association, I believe, right from the beginning. She ran whist drives to raise money for the church hall, Christmas fairs at the church hall, Mothers Union, a writing group, and the wine group. Endless coffee mornings for different charities to raise money, like for the skate park. Also a member of the Conservative Association, again, where she worked tirelessly. She always told me that she started delivering leaflets for the Conservatives when she was 11 years old with one of her friends. And their payment, they got invited back to the house where they were given a glass of sherry. Judy never had a bad word to say about anyone. And as many have said, when they first arrived here, she was always a welcoming face and had a welcoming word to say. For those of you who have sent lovely messages to me with regards to Judy, I forwarded them on to her son and family. Judy will be missed by us greatly. Just to confirm so everybody is aware, Judy's funeral is on the 3rd of October at 1 o'clock at Bourne Abbey Church. Donations can be made through TL Carlton Funeral Directors at Bourne Abbey, and I do hope we can see you there. Thank you. Councillor Cook.
Well, firstly, thank you, Madam Chairman, for that beautiful tribute to Councillor Judy Smith. And I think just a few recollections of my own time with Judy. I mean, I think I first met her back in 2008 now, when as many of us do, we offered to deliver some leaflets, and then you get involved more than what you actually expect you're going to do. And gradually, as time went on, before I was a councillor, we used to do, and some people remember this in the room, the Christmas Bazaar at the office in Bourne. And some of the recollections of that, when we used to run the bric-a-brac and the ploughman's lunch, some will remember, but I always remember one of the experiences when we were tidying up at the end of the day. She literally passes me the marigolds and says, right, you can do the washing up and I'll do the drying. And I can always, it's just that cheeky glint in her eye and that cheeky smile that she would give you. And Judy and Judy's name in Bourne are one and one. She was a fantastic community champion. Both her and her late husband, John, who also served on this council as a cabinet member as well. She was a former chairman of our council, and her legacy continues to live in Bourne. You only have to go into Smith's to see pictures and photographs of her family in Smith, which is always beautiful to go and see. And I know that the last time I saw her, I know she was so keen to come back to this council, and it is always exceptionally sad when we lose a member of this council, but to lose one in an unexpected way makes it even sadder, especially when she was really looking forwards to coming back and playing an active part in this chamber here. She would always have those words of reason, as you'd say, and she'd always have passion in what she believed in. I think she will be missed by all of us. And as you've said already, she always had that listening ear. You could always go and have a conversation with her. And I can remember going to see her only a few weeks ago, and she always has that value and that counsel that you can have a conversation with her. And she's not biased, and she'll just listen and then give you her honest opinion, quite often with a cheeky comment as well, as you've alluded to. But finally, Judy was kind, and she was kind to everyone. I know when I first joined this council, it didn't matter which party you were from or which part of the district. She wanted to know you, and she wanted to know about what made you tick and how you worked. And, she is a great loss to this council, and she will be deeply missed. And, if there's anything, her ability to be kind and thoughtful is one of the things I think most of us will all remember about Judy Smith.
Thank you, Councillor Cook. Councillor Paulwood.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yes, I knew Judy all the time she was on the council. And she did an excellent job when she chaired this council for the period that she did. I think what Councillor Cook has said, she was a friend of everybody's. I certainly regard her as a friend. She was not nasty with anybody. She had nothing nasty to say. She really didn't have a nasty bone in her body. She was a nice, friendly person. It didn't really matter what party you were from. She was your friend. And that's great. That's what we really want people to be. She'll be sadly missed. That's probably all I've got to say, Madam Chairman, but thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Paul Fellows?
Thank you. Getting there at 11 was a bit much, Conservatives. That seems, that's got to be a bit questionable. But I'd like to pay tribute to Judy. On behalf of the people of Bourne, I would like to say, to use those Paddington words, thank you. She served Bourne for so many years. I sat on so many committees with her. I remember being in Smith's at a skate park meeting and her proudly announcing that the room we're in used to be her bedroom, which I found quite incredible, but it obviously did. Wonderful lady, wonderful friend. We'll certainly miss her. We'll never forget her. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Philip Knowles?
No, yeah, thank you, Chair. I can't add too much to what Helen and Paul said about Judy in Bourne. She was the first lady of Bourne, without a shadow of a doubt. Everybody knew her. Everybody had help from her at some stage. Just one little item. A couple of days after she died, I was asked to go to a house in near the centre of Bourne in Meadowgate. And I went down to the house, and the lady had a little bit of a problem. She was talking to me. And after 2 minutes, she said, all of us used to go to see Judy Smith now, and now we didn't know where to go, because everybody in Bourne rang Judy Smith, and she gave help to everybody. I'm proud to say I shared a ward with her in the East Ward in Bourne, and I'm proud to say I shared a friendship with her long before I was on this council. She was a wonderful, wonderful lady, and she'll be sadly missed. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Councillor Knowles. Councillor Linda Wooden?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. It's nice to say that we're all saying very similar things. But Judy was very much a people person, and she did so much for her community, as we all know. She was always kind and caring. She could be a little bit naughty, all delivered with a cheeky little smile, as I found out when I was Mayor of Grantham, bless her, and she was chairman here, and we had quite a lot of fun. Our friend Judy will be greatly missed by us all. Bless her. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Ian Selby.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Madam Chairman, one of the best things about being a councillor is that over the years I've got to meet some absolutely wonderful people on all sides of the council chamber. And Judy Smith, she was one of the best, Madam Chairman. Known Judy a long time now, because she was on the council for quite a while. One of the things I remember that myself, Judy and the late Councillor Ken Joinson did, we undertook a market survey. We went around all the markets trying to help revive the markets, and that's obviously sadly a thing that we're still doing today. But we put our energies into that, to put together a report. And Judy, yeah, she was fabulous during that. Also, I remember Judy for her mince pies. She makes cracking good mince pies, I have to say. I attended her late husband's funeral, Madam Chairman. I hope to be there for Judy's. And just to say, I shall remember her fondly, Madam Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Phil Dilks.
As evidenced by these warm, heartfelt tributes, Judy Smith was quite simply one of the most respected and universally loved, decent, hard-working members of this council. As Callum said, she was past politics. She really was. She took all of us under her wing, frankly. Sorry if you thought it was just you, Madam Chairman. As well as her naughty smile that colleagues have mentioned, I'll always remember Judy as one of the best ever chairmen of this council. who always had a kind word for everyone, as colleagues have said. My only regret is that we weren't able to take up the suggestion put forward by Councillor Baxter at the last council meeting that we should bestow upon Judy the ancient honourable title of Alderman. Although I'm sure in these modern times, Alderman might not be the most appropriate honour for such a distinguished lady like Judy. Can you imagine the debate that we'd have here, trying to agree on a more gender neutral alternative? We'd need a good chairman like Judy. Let me just say, Judy was a really special lady and she's already sorely missed. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Charmaine Morgan.
Thank you. I had the pleasure of serving on planning with Judy for nearly 3 terms, and she always used to, the twinkle in the eye would come out. She always was always true to herself, and she would consider what evidence there was before. Obviously, in planning, it is so important. But there were clearly things that she was quite passionate about, and they would come forward in our debates. And I'm glad to say quite often I agreed with her. So that was a wonderful thing. But I think people have already said about the fact that she was a wonderful, warm person. I'm a member of the opposition group, but that never mattered to Judy. We would have warm hellos and greetings. And on one particular memorable occasion, Councillor Helen Powell, who isn't here today, she's no longer a member of this chamber, but Helen, I and Judy met at the George in Stamford for our high tea. And I'll have to say it was one of the most lovely moments of my life. It was such a wonderful time to just sit there. I was different group to Judy and Helen another, and forgetting all politics, it was all about people. And it's so important that we remember that beneath the surface, there are people. My deepest regret today, the last time I saw Judy, we'd agreed we'd go back to the George, and I'll never have a chance to do that again. Goodbye, Judy.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. If we're all done, thank you for all those kind words. She was truly amazing and genuine person. We will now return to the introduction of the meeting. I did get it slightly wrong. I know we're not being filmed, but we are being audio streamed, so we are still live. Any councillor who wishes to speak should press the button on their microphone. A green light will signal that you are in the queue. I will call councillors to speak in the order in which they appear. Sorry, can't see for looking. Yeah. When it's your turn to speak, I will call your name. The Democratic Service team will ensure your microphone is live. They will also turn your microphone off when you have finished speaking. You will not be able to turn your own microphone on or off. This will be done for you. The button on your microphone will only allow you to join or remove yourself from the list of councillors wishing to speak. Members are also reminded that when speaking, comments should be addressed through the chairman, and members should speak clearly into their microphones. Members are also reminded that when the chairman starts to speak, you are to stop speaking and be seated. The length of time for speeches remains 5 minutes. You'll be warned when you have 30 seconds left and your time is up. Throughout this meeting, we'll be voting by a show of hands. The only occasions we will be using a roll call vote will be if recorded vote is requested. The rules of debate are set out in the Constitution, but here is a brief reminder. A member may speak once on motions and once on each amendment that is put. Other than exercising a right of reply at the end of debate or on a substantive motion or an amendment, the only time a member may speak a second time is to raise a point of order, point of information, or point of personal explanation. Points of order may only relate to an alleged breach of the council's procedure rules or the law. Any councillor who wishes to raise a point of order must indicate the rule or law and the way in which they consider it has been broken. A point of information provides any councillor with the ability to intervene should they believe another councillor is providing the council with incorrect information, thereby saving the council from being misled and saving its time. A point of personal explanation may only relate to some material part of an earlier speech made by a councillor, which may appear to have been misunderstood during debate. We will now begin to work through the agenda for today. Public open forum, item 1 on the agenda. Can I ask the Democratic Service Manager to confirm whether we have any members of the public have registered to speak today?
Thank you, Chairman. I can confirm we've had no registrations from members of the public. Thank you.
Thank you very much, James. Item 2 on the agenda, apologies for absence. Can I please ask the Democratic Service Manager to confirm any apologies that have been received for their absence?
Thank you again, Chairman. I've got the following apologies from Councillor Ashley Baxter, Councillor Breda Ray Griffin, Councillor Mrs Rosemary Cabery Brown, Councillor Virginia Moran, Councillor Robert Reid, Councillor Jackie Smith, Councillor Adam Stokes and Councillor Ian Stokes. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Are there any further apologies to be noted? No, thank you. Oh, sorry. Councillor Stevens. Lovely, thank you. Item 3 on the agenda, disclosures of interests. Members are reminded that a disclosable pecuniary interest is an interest any member holds where they or their spouse or civil partner is likely to receive a financial benefit or disadvantage because of the decision that is being made. For example, this could be because of their employment or dividend they have in respect of an affected business. It also covers any land they hold. Members should also consider whether they have any other registrable interests or non-registrable interests that would need to be declared at the meeting in accordance with the Council's Code of Conduct. Once you have declared an interest, you should leave the meeting and not speak or vote on the debate. If any member has any interests they need to disclose, please indicate them now. Thank you. If during the debate it becomes clear that you have a disclosable pecuniary interest or any other interest in an item, you can declare it at the relevant point of the meeting. We'll now proceed to the next item of business. Agenda item 4, minutes of the meeting held on the 25th of July 2022. This item is to confirm the minutes of the meeting held on the 25th of July 2022. Any correction should be regarding the accuracy of the substance of the minutes, not typographical errors which should have been raised with the Democratic Service team when the minutes were published. If you wish to make any corrections to the minutes, please indicate. Is there a proposal for the minutes of this meeting? Thank you.
I propose the minutes of this meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Ray-Wotton. Thank you. Now we'll go to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Those against? Abstentions? Oh, quite a few. Yeah, thank you. That has been carried. Right, item 5, communications. Firstly, we have something lovely. It's somebody's birthday in the chamber today. So may I wish Councillor Ian Selby many happy returns of the day. We won't sing because we don't want it to rain.
Thank you kindly, Madam Chairman. Can I also say happy birthday to our colleague Dan here as well?
It's yours as well. Oh, happy birthday, Councillor Steptoe. We'll have to remember those dates. A busy couple of months again for me. And I'd like to thank all those councillors who came to my civic service. Little did we think on that Sunday that'd be the last time we sang God Save the Queen. Rest her, God bless her. But thank you all for those who attended. I think we had a good day by everybody. And on Sunday, I attended St Wolfram's civic service of Thanksgiving for Her Majesty, which was wonderful. I'd like to invite the leader of the council and individual cabinet members or head of paid services to make any announcements. Councillor Cook.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Sorry, just a note of thanks from me. Just to say that I'm extremely proud of the role that South Kesteven District Council has played throughout the period of national mourning, during which we paused our own formal proceedings as a mark of respect. And I think it's important to recognise that many of our Team SK volunteers stepped forward to support the books of condolence in each of the 4 towns, organised public floral tributes, and not to mention the amazing work done by our London Bridge team, who ensured the 4 local proclamations went ahead on schedule and in the correct format in accordance with the national guidance. I'd also like to pay tribute to the mayors across all of the 4 towns involved in reading the proclamations. It certainly was not an easy job, and I do not envy them of that. And I know we've got obviously Councillor Kelly and Councillor Gill with us here that had the pleasure of doing that in both Grantham and Bourne. My thanks also goes to the organisers of the massive efforts who have gone above and beyond to fulfil expectations at this difficult time, and everyone who also volunteered in all of the mayor's offices across the district with the books of condolence. And I'd also like to, on a separate note, also thank Councillor Mason and her other teams in terms of the mental health group, the working group, for their session just prior to this meeting. I think it was really good energy, and it was good that everybody was actively engaged in the process of getting involved with mental health. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cook. Our Chief Executive, Karen Bradford.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I just need to inform Councillor of one matter, and that's the appointment of temporary councillors to Huff on the Hill Parish Council. Huff on the Hill Parish Council has recently received resignations from all of its members and is no longer quorate. There is a parish where a parish council is inquorate and unable to operate, the district council can make temporary appointments to enable the parish council to progress urgent business. The making of temporary appointments to town and parish councils is delegated to me as Chief Executive, and any appointments are required to report to the next meeting of council for information. I can advise members today that I've used these powers to make 3 temporary appointments to Huff on the Hill Parish Council. Councillor Penny Mills, Councillor Paul Wood, and County Councillor Alex Morn have been appointed on a temporary basis until 3 new parish councillors have been elected or co-opted to take up office. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Item 6 on the agenda. This item is to consider whether the council should designate Hobbling Conservation Area and adopt the Hobbling Conservation Area Appraisal and Management Plan. Is there a proposal for this recommendation to the report? Councillor Nick Robbins.
Thank you, Chairman. One of the key ambitions at South Kesteven District Council is to build on and celebrate the rich heritage and culture of this district. I'm therefore delighted to present to you this report recommending the designation of a conservation area in Hobbling. By designating the conservation area, the council will formally recognise the special architectural and historic interest of Hobbling and will support safeguarding our historic environment for all to appreciate for generations to come. The boundaries to the proposed conservation area are defined in the map appended to the papers today. That's on page 31, Appendix A of your agenda pack today. This conservation area appraisal would form part of the council development plan. This means that they will be taken into account during the determination of planning applications within this conservation area. The designation of a conservation area does not mean that every building will be preserved or that no changes are allowed. What it does allow is for greater protection and consideration of the special character of the area to ensure that development is positively managed and that important features of the building are protected. I'd like to thank all the officers which through their hard work and dedication have brought this report to the council today, and in particular Patricia Craggs, our conservation officer. The request to designate the conservation area was made by the parish council, and I'm pleased to be able to support the designation of the Hobbling Conservation Area.
Thank you, Councillor Robbins. Is there a seconder? Councillor Jan Henson.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm more than happy to second this formal designation of the Hobbling Conservation Area. It's been a long time in the coming, 4 years, I believe. Also, I would like to thank Patricia Craggs, the Principal Conservation Officer, and her colleagues for getting us to this stage. I know the Parish Council are extremely grateful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, councillor Henderson. Right, we will now go into debate. Right, thank you. Councillor Morgan, can we learn to push the button and then it comes up on my screen, and that goes for everybody. If you wish to speak, push the button once, then it will come up on my screen and then I can pick you up as you come in order. Thank you. Councillor Morgan.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to fully support the new conservation area. I see protection of our natural and built heritage is so important for not only our generation but future generations. But it does raise some questions. First of all, I would like an answer to why we've had to go back to public consultation twice. I think I can guess the answer. I believe it does warrant an explanation why there was that delay. Apparently, according to our report in 2018, originally we consulted and we've had to go back. I'd like an explanation for that. While I'm absolutely delighted about the new conservation area in Hobbling, I'd like to point out that in 2012, Grantham put forward, the Conserving Grantham members put forward a proposal to SK for an extension of the St Anne's conservation area to include Dysart Park, and we've yet to see that. So I'm very interested to understand how we prioritise.
Thank you, councillor Morgan, but that Grantham is not on the agenda. We are simply discussing Horbling today. Thank you.
I agree, but I'm making a general point about how we prioritise because I think that's not transparent and I think it does need to be. The other key point I'd like to make is regarding resourcing and the maintenance and management of the conservation area. It's touched upon in the actual report itself in paragraph 1.4 mitigation, page 26, how important it is that we do protect our heritage, that we do maintain our conservation areas. So I think it's really important. It's not only about the provision of our conservation areas, but it's also the ongoing maintenance of those. And I do think that we've got some real issues around resourcing, both identifying the areas and maintaining them. And that is, I hate to say, evident in Grantham. The other point I'd like to make on that subject, because it's also extremely important, is how we manage and maintain the local list. For those of you that don't know, the local list, which is referred to actually briefly in this document, is hugely important. It's a safety net for all of our locally important buildings that Heritage England have deemed don't warrant listing per se, but actually are very important to our local community. And again, that local list must be maintained or heritage buildings are at risk. And we've lost a number in Grantham because of that list not being maintained as well. So I'm saying, whilst I really support this, and I'd support any appropriate conservation area, the resources must be there to protect them as well. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Morgan. Councillor Harris-Bisnassing.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I would very much like if Councillor Robbins would be able to explain something to me. Even though I welcome the conservation area, I wonder why, if you look at the map itself that's there, to the left of the survey says Hobbling, the boundary, there's some kind of dog's hind legs all over the place. I wonder what was the reason why that couldn't have a straight line coming through and joining down to the bottom. Or there's something special about those houses, because as far as the drawing shows here, it looks some of the new houses in there. So, and the other new houses have been excluded. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have any other members wish to speak in the debate? No? Then councillor Robbins, would you like to sum up for me, please?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Going back to Councillor Morgan's question, that the original consultation took place in 2018. It was alleged at the time that there were some omissions as they carried out. So the consultation, so a second time, there was another consultation taken place. Due to the time delays, and I agree with Councillor Hanson, it has been a long time. And because properties may have been sold, it was important that we reconsult on the same document. So yeah, so let's sum up. Yes, so I'm more than happy to propose that the council adopts the Hobbling conservation area.
Thank you. Did you wish to answer Councillor Bishness-Sings? It's probably because they're new builds, I should think, in the dog leg of the outline.
Yeah, it is due that the conservation area is exactly for that to conserve the older parts of the village. So where there's new builds and where it hasn't been deemed necessary to protect the character of the village, that's where the dog legs and the unusual boundaries are.
Thank you. We will now go to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. Against? Abstentions? 1. Thank you. That has been carried. We'll now go to item 7 on the agenda. Political proportional allocation of seats on committees and appointment of armed forces lead member. This item provides full council with an update on the political proportionality and allocation of seats on committees since the last meeting and the opportunity to consider the appointment of an armed forces lead member. The appointments required for companies committee, licensing committee and the alcohol, entertainment and late night refreshment licensing committees are contained within recommendations 2 and 3. The report will be introduced by Deputy Chief Executive Alan Robinson. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. So this report comes to you due to changes in our balance, political balance. It's been reviewed with the group leaders, and any questions regarding the numbers of seats and the like have been taken up with those group leaders. I've got nothing further to add to the paper, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Do I have a proposer? Councillor Callum Cook.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm very happy to propose. Obviously, I'll leave the opposition members to nominate their individuals onto their committees. However, I would like to just briefly comment on, in terms of agenda item, recommendation number 4, which is the appointment of Councillor Richard Dixon Warren as the council's lead member for the armed forces. I think, as many members may know, Councillor Dixon Warren has an extensive and varied and long-standing service with the armed forces, and I believe his experience in that role will greatly benefit us as a council, particularly as we've now been awarded the Gold Award, and I understand we are the only local authority in Lincolnshire to have received the Gold Award. I believe there's only 2 other businesses in the rest of the county to have achieved this high accolade. And there really is a lot more we can do, and I believe that with Councillor Dixon Warren at the helm, working with our officers and particularly Debbie Nichols, we can really look at how we work with businesses and the wider community. And I know we're also working much closer with the barracks in Grantham as well. And I appreciate that a lot of other members across our districts, across the district council, have service with the armed forces, and it really is a point about those individuals becoming ambassadors as well as part of the council. So it's a real team effort across this chamber in supporting our Gold Award and also how we can support veterans and the armed services in our district. I'm very happy to let Paul Wood then nominate onto his committees. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Paul Wood. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll second it, Mr. Chairman, and I'm pleased to report that the independent group are pleased that we've got a second seat on Companies Committee, and I'd like to nominate Councillor Arish Bishnor-Singh for that post, please. And I'm quite happy to second the report, yes.
Sorry, thank you. Anybody wish to speak in debate? Councillor Phil Dilks.
Confirm that we're going to take the votes en bloc.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ian Selby, did you?
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Yes, I was going to actually ask the question of why we need an appointment as a lead member of the armed forces, but I think leader of the council has just answered that quite adequately, Madam Chairman. We've never had this position before, to my knowledge, but there's no reason why not to have one. And I think it's something that we should certainly have. And it'll be an asset to the council, I'm sure. I just want to point out as well, Madam Chairman, we now have 4 unaligned councillors. At this rate, Madam Chairman, the unaligned will soon be the main opposition, Madam Chair. We'll be yeah. But just a point on this, Madam Chairman, a serious point. I mean, thankfully, I've been gifted a seat on planning by the administration, and appreciate that. The reason why I like to be on planning or on a committee management is I like to contribute. That's why I'm a councillor. I've got skills that I believe that can certainly benefit the council, and it's the same with other unaligned councillors, Madam Chairman. And I do think that there should be allocated a seat on a committee. The skills that we've all got that the council should benefit from and take advantage of. And for seats to be allocated on party lines, Madam Chair, just doesn't ring true to me, Madam Chairman. I don't know whether this is something that should go to the Constitution Committee, Madam Chairman, but I just wanted to make that point. Thank you.
Yeah. Alan, would you like to as monitoring officer?
Thank you, Councillor Selby, for that. It's not a matter of something that's in our constitution, Councillor Selby. It's the political balance is the law. So we have to follow political balance unless the whole council chooses to suspend. That's that for a particular committee, which would mean every single member of this council voting to suspend. So I think that is kind of an unlikely event. Of course, it is possible, but yeah, it's the law rather than something that we decide on, Councillor Selby.
Thank you. Councillor Cook, did you want to make a clarification? Oh, sorry, Councillor Charmaine Morgan. Can you press your buttons?
Yeah, yes, thank you. I would, I do sympathise and support the comments by Councillor Selby, but I'd just like to make a couple of points, if I may. First of all, yes, it is correct. It is the law that we as a basis we should go on party lines regarding committee seats. But as has happened in Councillor Selby's case, they can be gifted. So there's ways and means of doing things. However, I also do believe that it's also important that we recognise the role of the chairs and the committees in inviting those members who attend if they wish to speak and to comment and raise questions. You don't have to be a member of that committee, and that applies to all councillors, whether we're not aligned or whether we are actually a serving member of another group. It is really important that we do have full participation. Thank you.
Thank you. Nobody else? Then could I ask Councillor Cook to sum up for me, please?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I hope all members will vote unanimously. And just to answer Councillor Selby's point, it is a requirement of the Gold Award that we do nominate a lead member for this authority.
Thank you. So we'll now go to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Those against? Abstentions? 1. That has been carried then. Thank you. Now go to agenda item 8 on the members' open questions. Members may ask one question only with no preamble. Please note, no preamble or supplementary, which may be addressed to one of the following: the leader, the cabinet members, the chairman and vice chairman of overview and scrutiny committees and opposition group leaders. The session may last up to 45 minutes. Please join the queue by pressing the button on your microphone, and I will call members out in the order in which they appear on my list. I expect you to put your question straight away. If you do not, I will direct you to move to your question. If after being instructed you do not move straight to your question, your microphone will be turned off and I will move to the next person in the queue. There is no right to the reply, the making of the statements or entering in debate. So councillor Jan Henson, can I ask you to speak, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Would the leader of the council agree to hold a meeting with the members or certain members of the Hobbling Parish Council who raised a number of issues concerning this conservation subject that was discussed today? There were a couple of issues and concerns. So would the leader agree to hold a meeting with these people?
Councillor Cook.
Yes, and I'll happily invite the cabinet member for planning along with me as well.
Thank you. Councillor Paul Wood.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yeah, my questions to Councillor Cook, leader of the council. We've had a peer review recently, and I wonder if Councillor Cook will be good enough to give us an update of what the feedback is from that peer review, please. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Councillor Wood, for the question. As many members will know, we did have a review of the peer review that we had conducted back in November of last year. So the team came in yesterday to speak with a number of individuals from this council, including Councillor Sarah Trotter, Councillor Anna Mason, myself, Councillor Wood. And it basically was discussing the progress that we've made to date from last November. And actually, it was really encouraging to hear the positive words that were said by the panel. And that panel is independent. They review us on our progress. We submitted a huge number of documents in terms of where we've been, where we're going, and what we have actually achieved. And the feedback was incredibly positive. There will be a report that will come back within 3 weeks' time, and which we will share publicly, and that will be a public document. We'll also, I think, bring that back to this forum as well, so members can publicly acknowledge the work that we have undertaken. And I still know that we have a number of challenges as an organisation, and we will endeavour to deal with those challenges as we go, and we will work together as a team. And I think the panel were incredibly impressed by how both the officer side of the organisation and the political side of the organisation had improved in the time since their last visit in November, but also seeing the significant progress that we've made on a number of areas across this council. So it is exceptionally a report to be proud of and pleased to be in terms of where we've got to, and I look forward to discussing that at this future council meeting as well.
Thank you, Councillor Cook. Councillor Field-Ilks.
Thanks, Madam Chairman. My question is to the Cabinet Member for Culture and Visitor Economy. I congratulate Ropsley and Welby, recent winners of the District Council's Best Kept Village competition. As you know, the village I represent, Deep St James, is a previous winner, so my community knows the pride residents that both Ropsley and Welby will be feeling on their success. But sadly, my village was prevented.
Did say,
oh, sorry.
No preamble, just a question. Thank you.
Thank you. Sadly, my village was prevented from entering this year's competition. As Cabinet Member responsible for setting the criteria and rules for entry, can you please explain why we were banned, confirm that Deep St James was the only village across the whole of SK to be banned, and give an assurance that the ban will be lifted for next year's competition? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rosemary Trott-Balloon.
Thank you, Councillor Dilks. I congratulate, obviously, all those villages that have done so well, and especially those that are going to be receiving our wonderful gold bin. So that's excellent news for some of them. This is something that I inherited from the previous cabinet member, and as you may know, we are looking into all best kept village competitions. So we will renew, and we'll let you know when we have more information. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Charmaine Morgan.
Thank you. This is a question for the leader of the council, Councillor Cook. In view of the current economic crisis, can you explain why we do not have this subject as a main part of the agenda? In particular, a full presentation would have been appropriate, identifying what risks there are to the council and our communities with the issues that we face and how SK would be managing these. I'd like to give full credit to Councillor Wheeler for her motion.
Thank you. Again, there is no preamble. It is a direct, well, it sounds like it to me. Could we just ask a question?
I did, and I haven't quite finished. I said I'd like to give credit to Councillor Wheeler for her motion, without which it wouldn't even be on the agenda. And can we consider an extraordinary meeting in view of the current economic climate?
Councillor Cook.
Thank you for your question. It was actually due to go to the Rural and Communities meeting last week. It hadn't been for the sad death of Her Majesty the Queen. I know Councillor Mason, who leads this on behalf of the Cabinet, has already had a number of working group meetings on this topic. And obviously we've got the motion ahead of us as well about expanding that. And we're already working with a lot of the stakeholders and charities and community groups across the entire district. And we've also got a report in terms of the impact of the costs increases at the present time going to the next FedCo meeting as well. So it is very much on the council's agenda. It is very much on all of our minds, as I noticed. We all know the difference in costs for all of us in our own homes. But I can assure you it is absolutely a priority in helping our residents. And obviously we look forward to some of the government's announcements that will also assist our residents across the district.
Thank you. Councillor Lee Steptoe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Don't think the Cabinet Member for Housing is here, so I'll ask the Leader of the Council, Councillor Cook. When does he envisage the bidding-based letting system being introduced for our council stock? Thank you.
I will have to get the formal clarification on that one for you, but I'm happy if Mr. Cotton would like to answer in a detailed fashion.
Thank you, Andrew.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. In terms of the timeline that is being developed, we're currently looking at the IT packages that, of course, are critical in terms of making that choice-based letting system work. So that's currently work that's underway, and happy to share the timeline with all members, of course, when that's developed.
Thank you, Councillor Philip Knowles.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'm referring to a question I made at the last meeting, which is on page 23, if anyone needs to consult it. It's about the council grounds maintenance and the wider work of SK Environment. May I ask the Cabinet Member for Waste and Climate, therefore, what progress has been made with this work? Has the suggestion that the contract can be reviewed on a more regional basis been considered? And how and when progress will be reported?
Thank you, Councillor Whittington.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Knowles, for the question. The update in terms of progress, as you're probably aware, there was a joint meeting of the Rural and the Environment Committee, which considered a variety of options for the grounds maintenance contract. The options considered was for the contract to remain with ESK. Second option was for it to go out to potentially to the private sector, private providers to bid for. And third option was to look to see how much it would cost to bring it in-house. That the meeting of that committee, the joint meeting, agreed that that was the right way forward. And that decision was then ratified at a cabinet meeting in July. In terms of where we are so far, we do have a costing from ESK as to how much they think they could do the current spec for. We are currently working up in what the in-house cost would be, and there was one response from the private sector who put in a bid to the contract. At the moment, the next stage is that a report will be compiled with one preferred option being suggested. At the moment, I can't comment as to what that will be. In terms of progress going forward, I'm looking at Alan, the Chief Executive, as the lead officer. I believe it's going back to, will it go back to another joint meeting of Rural and Environment?
If the Chief Exec could ask that.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yes, just to support, Alan's not able to comment because he is the Director of Environment SK. So if I can make that comment. The proposal is it would go back to a joint meeting of the two scrutiny committees with then a recommendation to Cabinet And then if necessary, it will then come through to council. The timeline we're looking at is trying to get to a cabinet, the December cabinet, and I think that's the 13th of December for a recommendation to go forward. But just to clarify, Councillor Whittington, we didn't receive any bids as part of the tender process. Yeah.
My apologies for unintentionally misleading the council.
Thank you. Councillor Anna Kelly.
Thank you, Chairman. Please could I ask a question of the leader? Please can you update us with regard to the scrutiny review? Has an action plan been formulated and become available? Or will this be a working party thing to create the action plan that we mean to implement following that review?
Councillor Cook.
Thank you. Well, obviously, we have been exceptionally busy in terms of actually sorting out the constitution and everything else as part of the council. I'd like to see it on the next constitution committee meeting, and I'd like us to get on and get it resolved as soon as possible. And I'm happy if the monitoring officer wishes to clarify anything on that.
Mr. Robertson, if you'd like to.
Thank you, Chairman. Just for clarity, I think this is actually already on the agenda for Governance and Audit Committee to consider the action plan. So you should see that. I believe that's, looking at Richard, that's next week, isn't it? So you should see the papers and the draft action plan for that, Councillor Kelly. And it'll be at Governance and Audit next week.
Thank you. Do I have any other questions from any members? Councillor Selby.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. To whoever in the administration would like to answer the question with no preamble, can communication with the general public, who are our council's customers, please endeavour to improve it, please, because it currently is not very good. I hear it all the time from constituents, Madam Chairman. Thank you.
Councillor Cook.
Councillor Selby, you've just made a comment regarding the professional integrity of our officers of this council, providing no context or evidence to ascertain your actual views. We communicate with our residents on a daily basis. We communicate via social media, via our website. The latest version of SK Today has just gone out. If you have any individual concerns or issues, then I'm more than happy to discuss those with you, as I'm sure Mr. Robinson is, as well as the director responsible for our communications team. But I can assure you we have a very dedicated team at this council, and we've recently reviewed a lot of our communications, and I know that the team are working on a communication strategy as well in terms of how we further improve. But I think it's very reckless to make a comment that you just have, which is really challenging the professional integrity of our officers, and I hope you would withdraw that, and I'd be very happy to meet with you and discuss any concerns that you do have regarding the communication standards.
I'll have no preamble, Madam Chairman, as you said. I hear it from constituents, Madam Chairman, all the time. And there was no way I meant any disrespect to any council officer, Madam Chairman, whatsoever.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As I have nobody on the list, I close now this section of the agenda and thank all those members of the council who asked questions. We'll go to item 9 on the agenda, notices of motion, and that is Councillor Amanda Wheeler. Members will now move to the first notice of motion submitted by Councillor Amanda Wheeler, whom I'd like to call to present her motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This morning I spoke to a pensioner in Stamford who has worked her entire life and is still working at the age of 75. She can't get out of her overdraft and she sees no way of managing her bills this winter. She told me her fridge and her freezer are both bare, and a tin of supermarket soup, which used to cost her 90p, is now £1.60. In her words, the only thing that hasn't gone up is the blooming pension. Nationally, not enough is being done. So it's important that we do what we can locally as a district, and that we work with all the relevant local organisations to support the people most in need at this extremely difficult time, such as Citizens Advice, who say that every month this year, there's been an increase in calls to their service. People are saying they can't top up their gas or electricity, or that they've run out of food. The number of food bank referrals made by Citizens Advice has increased in the last year by 50%. And there's also been a 22% increase in people needing support with their energy bills. Today, the Bank of England has raised interest rates to 2.25%. That's the highest level in 14 years. And inflation is currently at 10%, with the latest Bank of England forecast suggesting it will go as high as 13% this winter. And I'm sure you're all aware that poorer households experience higher rates of inflation than the better off. We have some incredible organisations in our district who are doing so much to support people. The food banks in Stamford, Bourne, Deeping St James and Grantham. Second Helpings in Stamford, along with the newly opened George's Food Hub, which was launched last night. Councillor Cleaver was there with me to witness that. The Passage in Grantham, the charities and community groups such as Stamford's Mindspace, Evergreen, Bourne's Don't Lose Hope and Grantham's Beehive. And of course, the branches of Citizens Advice and the many churches across our towns and villages who do so much. I'm grateful to the officers at SKDC who have already taken action on this issue and have set up a dedicated page on SKDC's website to draw all resources together. Thank you to all of them for that. And in the hope of getting cross-party consensus, I've agreed to amend the motion to remove the reference to declaring a cost of living emergency. So you should have a copy of the motion in front of you, which is now just the 2 points, which I'll read out for you. So that's the council pledges to improve communication of housing benefit and council tax support schemes for those on low incomes in order to ensure that those who are entitled to additional support are receiving it. And then secondly, that we organise a cost of living working group, which involves key groups such as Citizens Advice, food banks, local community and business groups, and town and parish councils, in order to discuss how we can best support our residents through the crisis and use our influence and resources to create positive change. So I hope with that amendment that we can all agree to support this motion. Thank you very much, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. And I would be delighted to second your motion, Councillor Wheeler. And we will now go to debate. Councillor Annie Mason, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I agree, Councillor Reader, we've got some incredible community groups in the district that are supporting our residents that are in need. A cost of living report was meant to go to the Rural and Communities OSC last week, but that meeting was postponed due to the sad passing of our Queen Elizabeth. So with you submitting this motion, it's given me a chance to explain to the whole council what we are actually doing. So thank you for that. The cost of living crisis is a grave concern for each and every one of us, for our residents and for our businesses across the district. It is already a national emergency, and I understand the government is having a mini budget tomorrow in addition to the measures that have already been announced. A cost of living strategic working group has already been set up. I am leading and chairing this group as your cabinet member for people in safer communities. I am the only councillor on this group currently, and I am being supported by a team of senior managers, and we meet on a weekly basis. The strategic working group has invited external stakeholders to a scheduled meeting already planned for the 4th of October, and other potential stakeholders will be considered as the meetings continue. The external stakeholder group will have representatives from other public, private and voluntary sector organisations with responsibility to coordinate activities in response to the actions directed by the strategic working group. Parish and town councils will form part of this external stakeholder group in the near future and will be expected to report emerging concerns which can be fed back to the strategic working group so appropriate actions can be considered. We have developed a cost of living help and support webpage, as you've mentioned, to ensure residents and businesses have access to all the information on a wide range of help and support that is available. Early feedback has been received from third-party sectors, which has been very positive on the content. We are very much aware that not all of our residents are able to use a computer, and this is on the action plan to consider ways of reaching these residents, which could well be through the parish and town councils networks. As well as inviting external stakeholders to join the cost of living strategic working group, one of our plans is to hold a cost of living crisis support events around the 4 towns. So we are looking at arranging for external stakeholders such as the Citizens Advice, the DWP, the Federation of Small Businesses, presence from Revs and Bens and housing benefit teams, food banks, community larders and others in the space and the bread and butter thing. So by including those professional stakeholders, this would provide valuable guidance and support to our residents and businesses who would be invited to attend and hopefully assist with their concerns. I would urge you to come along to the next Rolling Communities OSC meeting so you can hear all the detail in the areas that we are looking at providing support with. We are acutely aware of the mental health and emotional well-being implications that will come in hand with this crisis and will form a big part of our strategy. Encouraging our residents to take care of their physical and emotional well-being when facing real financial hardship and worries will be a challenge, and there will need to be links into the mental health working group and will be picked up as part of the actions for the cost of living strategic working group. We will be looking to signpost more specifically those residents where we are notified via the various partners of potential hardship issues and contact them if we believe they are not accessing support which we believe they are entitled to. We also have plans to review other internal support, such as household support, discretionary housing payments, etc., and cross-checking to make sure they're receiving other entitlements. And of course, any changes to the council tax register, we will be ensuring the residents made aware of possible entitlements they may wish to consider. So I will support your motion, Councillor Wheeler, as we are already doing this and much more. So thank you for raising this and giving me the opportunity to outline what we've done and our plans for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mason. Councillor Charmaine Morgan.
Thank you. Yeah, first of all, I would like to thank Councillor Wheeler for the work that she's done on this really important motion. And I said before, without which this would not be on our agenda. And I hate to say, I think it's utterly shameful as a district council, we're not taking a lead in our community, that it has required a motion to be put forward for us to even be discussing it, and upon which Councillor Mason's just been able to give us some update about some of the work. I'm not impressed that she's the only member on that group, the working group. Why? Is there only one member who is a member of such an important group at this critical time? I also, like Councillor Wheeler, I have a resident who is a young mother with a child who, in fact, this spring, never mind more recently, was facing the challenge of whether to eat, to actually keep the roof over her head or heat her home. Things have only got worse for people like that. And I think if only, most of us have probably realised by now that it's not only the most vulnerable in our society affected by the changes coming, but it's actually reaching far further up the income line. So even those on middle incomes are actually going to be significantly hit by this, and especially including those with mortgages, who may face even the loss of their home in the forthcoming months and this forthcoming winter. In the past, when we had the COVID crisis, I recall having a conversation with one of our officers about what we were going to do. And everything seemed to be focusing around signposting, putting up information, but there was no actual practical help that we as a council were going to offer. I think there are key areas where we could offer help. I'm glad to say eventually the idea of a hub was picked up, and we did do an excellent job putting together volunteers with those in need of help. I like to think that in fact we could be offering far more practical support. I'm very concerned about a piecemeal approach regarding reliance on local charities. I'll give you one example. I was at Lincoln recently, and up on the notice board was an advert for their community grocery. What a fabulous idea. You pay £5 membership a year, you have a £3 shop, and you get £30 worth of food. If only that were available to everyone across our district. Let's look to see how we can get ideas like that across the district available to all our communities, not just the fortunate few who may happen to have particular amenities. Grantham, I'm talking about Grantham because we have got some of the worst areas of poverty in our district. Grantham has no community centre in the heart of the town. There is nowhere physical that can easily take place. Food Bank is already running, as has been mentioned, at full blast. And it's worrying because the people who would normally contribute donations to organisations like that are themselves now facing real financial hardship. So I'm calling for a full extraordinary meeting on which Annie would have an opportunity to progress the work that she's doing. But I think we need a completely holistic overview of this. It's not only how is it affecting our community, how is it affecting our budget? The heating bill alone for any organisation at the present is creating significant issues. So how is it affecting the council budget? How is it affecting our staff and their ability to do their jobs? We need a complete holistic view of this, not piecemeal breakdown across a number of committees. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Mark Whittington.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. First of all, I'd like to thank Councillor Amanda Wheeler for her motion and for bringing this very important issue before the council, because obviously I think it's extremely important that that we do discuss this important issue, which can have such a serious impact on a lot of people in our district. And I think it's already been mentioned today. We find out that the interest rates have now gone up again, which will have an impact upon people's mortgage costs, and again will put further pressure upon people's household budgets. I think, unfortunately, for a combination of factors, we're in almost a perfect inflationary storm caused by say, a variety of factors. Reduction in the supply of gas coming out of Russia following the Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine. We've also got an awful lot of sort of suppressed demand in the economy caused by COVID, and the economy being sort of locked down for several years, and consequently an awful lot of restrictions on the supply side. And unfortunately, the combination of that has led to this sort of high inflation levels that I can last remember when I was extremely young and a lot thinner than I am now. But I think that yes, obviously I also grateful for the comments of Councillor Mason, who's already indicating an awful lot of the work that this council is already doing, including the setting up of a cost of living working group. And I'm really pleased to see that we've got a lot of key stakeholders going to be involved as well, because I think it's really important that the whole community comes together to support families that we've got in crisis. And obviously up tomorrow, we've got what the government are calling a fiscal event, whatever that means. But I'm rather hoping that the government tomorrow will announce an awful lot more financial support to extremely vulnerable families. As I say, I am pleased to see that this council is already doing a lot towards helping the vulnerable in our community, and I hope that we'll carry on developing these schemes and developing this help in the months ahead. So I would just really, in conclusion, would really just like to say again, I fully support this motion. I'd like to encourage all members in this chamber to support this motion this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Whittington. Councillor Fieldill.
Thanks, Madam Chairman. I quite like the original motion myself. You know, I've got to say, the cost of living crisis, you know, it doesn't matter what party you are or none, it's a big problem and it affects all of us. And we are leaders, or we're elected as leaders in our communities. And I think we all have a responsibility to roll our sleeves up in the coming winter and see what we can all do individually and as a council to support the people who it is going to affect most badly. I support what Councillor Annie Mason said. And I think she opened her remarks saying, you know, it's already a national emergency. It is. But if it's a national emergency and we all accept that, why can we not declare a cost of living emergency here? Doesn't make any sense. But anyway, that's where we are. I just don't see why the administration can't support declaring a local cost of living emergency, or support holding a summit, which is in the original motion that's in the published papers, which would demonstrate and allow us to bring together people to show the leadership that is going to be needed in the coming months, regardless of what political party you are or none. It's just, so, I mean, on that front, I welcome what you say, and I will try to come to, as Councillor Mason says, the scrutiny meeting that's going to look at some of these things. I won't be able to take part in the debate, of course, because we've changed the rules on that. It's not easy, as the non-aligned members have said, it's not easy to sort of take part in these debates, even though you can come and observe, and you might be allowed to speak with, you know, if they vote and say yes, you can speak. So that's why, Madam Chairman, I support Councillor Charmaine Morgan's call for an extraordinary meeting urgently to see what we as a council can and should be doing to show leadership in this crisis that is affecting our people, the people who have elected us right now.
Thank you. Councillor Linda Wootton.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I've just Googled this. I have been paying attention, but I just wanted to check it out to make sure that I was correct. On our website, it says cost of living, help and support, and it's all there. Everything we need to know. And I know people are going to say, well, not everybody's got an IT and etc., etc. But I'd also like to pay tribute to our officers, and in particular, our Annie, Councillor Mason, because she is working within the community and there's a lot of hard work going on out there. So that's all I've got to say. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Callum Cook.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Obviously, I will be supporting the motion as amended. And I think, look, we all know it is an issue that is affecting everyone at the present time. And that's everybody across the country, because, you know, when we fill up our cars, when we go and buy food, we've all noticed the difference in costs. And yes, as Councillor Whitton has already stated, you know, Putin's legal war in Ukraine is certainly pushing the prices up for us here in the United Kingdom, amongst inflation as well. And I am pleased that the Rural and Community Scrutiny are looking into this. And I can say, you know, recommendations can be made at that meeting to make sure that more people are involved, if more people want to be interested and involved in what we are doing. Obviously, Councillor Stokes, who isn't here, is leading an internal review of the costings of this organisation, as we know that we are going to be impacted in terms of heating, in terms of electric, in terms of running the basic operations of this organisation. And that will be reporting back publicly to the FedCo committee as well. And I know he's working closely with the finance colleagues here at the council. Obviously, in terms of working with our staff to make sure that we're looking after their welfare, you know, we have an employment committee, but our staff also have what is known as the people panel, with representatives from teams across the council. And this is one of the things that they are working on, and that has representatives of the trade unions on as well. So it is absolutely a priority on the welfare of our staff as well. And I know Councillor Sarah Trotter is also involved in that as chairman of the employment committee. You know, we've got to be honest with ourselves as well. We are limited with our budgets as well. You know, we are limited in terms of what we can do, but by working with others and by putting pressure on the council, on the government in terms of providing support, and obviously we'll wait to see what's going to be announced tomorrow. I don't believe in the word summit. Actually, I believe in much more the word of the working group. So it's a constant working group. It's not just one event. It is going to be an event of many to work with people. And my only hesitation is, and obviously, you know, we all know the Constitution and only so many members need to call an extraordinary meeting. There is a cost to us all coming into this building. There is a cost to us hosting that meeting. What I think I'd rather have is we have you know, if once the Rural and Community Scrutiny Committee have met and they've held a report, that report and the discussion can come to the next council meeting as part of our regular business, instead of costing thousands of pounds for us all to be here in officer time and travel time and everything else for us to come into this building. But I will be supporting the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Cook. Councillor Sarah Trotter.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Just in response to Councillor Dilks, I really welcome you to our Rural and Communities Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Just to remind you, it's at 2 o'clock on Wednesday, the 5th of October, and myself as chairman, I'll welcome any questions. I know it's at my discretion, but I'm really keen, as you probably all know, to work together for the best of the community. And equally so, I want to thank Andrew Cotton and his team. We discussed back in July about this issue, and that I wanted it to be brought, as Andrew did, to the next committee meeting. And sadly, with the passing of Her Majesty, the meeting would have happened. So yeah, so put that in your diaries if you want to come and we'll have a good discussion. And thank you.
Thank you, councillor Lee Steptoe.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yeah, obviously, I absolutely endorse the comments that Councillor Dilks and Councillor Morgan have made. Well, no surprise there. The three of us in varying degrees share very similar politics, so no surprise there whatsoever. But what I'm I'm very genuine in what I'm about to say, despite my little chuckle. I keep finding myself thanking the Tories for working in a cross-party way, but I mean it. And I absolutely mean it on this occasion. It's looking like there is a cross-party consensus for Councillor Wheeler's motion, and I absolutely welcome that. I think what people are probably waking up to, and this has been alluded to by previous speakers, is this isn't affecting the desperately poor. This is affecting all levels of income. Studies have shown that you've got to earn over 50k to actually survive this storm. That, believe it or not, is about the top 20% of the income scale in this country. The average full-time salary in Britain is about £26,000 a year. So putting it bluntly, and I repeat, genuinely no disrespect is meant to the Tories in the chamber on this, but it's affecting Tory voters. It's affecting those Daily Mail readers and those Daily Telegraph readers in a massive way. And so I absolutely welcome the consensus on this, whilst saying, yeah, obviously, in an ideal world, I personally would want to go further. We don't live in an ideal world, far, far from it. So I'm not going to make any amendments to Councillor Wheeler's proposals today, because I actually desperately want this to go through, hopefully unanimously, but certainly on a cross-party basis. And it almost looks like that's going to happen. What I am happy to do, though, is absolutely support Councillor Morgan's call for an extraordinary meeting. Call it what you want. Call it a working party. Call it a summit. Does it really matter? Does it matter to people out there who are struggling to pay their bills? What it's called? Because putting it in stark terms, and this isn't just political rhetoric, for millions of our fellow citizens, okay, it will be a question of putting the heating on or eating this coming winter. And I think as decent human beings, we can surely, unite around a consensus of how we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Steptoe. Councillor Judy Stevens.
Yeah, I'd just like to say I don't think we have to wait for the district council to do something ourselves as ward councillors. I don't really feel actually I want to take a lecture from you, Councillor Steptoe, in terms of what I need to do in my local community. With greatest respect, I've been doing it for over 30 years. But as I say, we don't have to wait, and we can do stuff already. We are setting up I am working with the local places of the library and the institute, which we have in the Deepings, various places which we can set up as cosy hubs, so that places that are already being heated, that we can invite members of the public to come into. And so for a couple of hours in the morning, for a couple of days a week, don't have to then heat their own homes. So this is just one thing that we've started to do. Obviously, our library will be seriously affected by these cuts in terms of the rising prices, in terms of the heating, but we're going to do our best to make the library as welcoming as we possibly can to all local residents, so that they have somewhere to go and some alternative to putting on their own central heating. So yeah, I think there's plenty of other things that we could do as well. I don't think we always need to have guidance or direction from somebody else. I think as district councillors, we can just get on and do it. And I hope that we will do in our respective communities. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Stevens. I have no more speakers registered, so therefore I will go to councillor Wheeler to sum up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. I'm really touched that there's been so much support for this, and that's why I changed the motion. Councillor Wood will confirm that I was a little petulant when he asked me to take out the emergency element, just a touch. But I'm really glad that Councillor Mason actually used that word when she was talking about it. And I appreciate what everyone else has said, because it is an emergency. And so I really feel, I really hope that everyone here will support this motion today. And I agree with you to a point, Councillor Stevens, because I do think that as councillors, we have a leading role to play in our communities. I'm not entirely sure that the right thing is to have cosy hubs. I just think in this day and age, for people not to be able to be safe in their own home and warm in their own home is a little bit crazy. And what about the people that can't actually physically move from their homes, or the ones that are relying on electricity for medical equipment? But anyway, I appreciate that there is stuff that we can all do individually as leaders within our community. And I would just urge everyone to play their part. But thank you all very much for your support. It means a lot. And I hope that we can all pass this unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, and we will now go to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Thank you. Against? Abstentions? That has been carried. Thank you. I just have one announcement. I would like to congratulate Mr. and Mrs. Graham Watts on the safe arrival of their baby daughter. So it's really good to have some positive news at the end of this meeting. So I will now close this meeting. I would like to thank you all for attending, and there will be tea